So something that I get most oftentimes asked is, how do I reach a level where I'm always loving or always blissful or always joyful? And the first thing that we must actually pay attention to is that we already know what this feels like. Now, we may not actually understand bliss per se for now. There are some people that have experienced what this is, but that's something that comes because of the grace of God or the universe. Okay, you've met these certain requirements, right? The prerequisites for the perfect moment for you to experience what that is. So basically, what you have done is that you've had combinations of locks, and you've actually opened up each lock to put in the key and then turn it to experience what that bliss is. But that is experiencing yourself at a higher level that most oftentimes is almost impossible for anybody to actually explain within words, because they don't really explain what the truth is. It's something that you experience. So we're just focusing on the first three levels, which is the physical, mental, energetic, or emotional, as I like to call it. And when we look at the energetic or emotional, we're basically seeing how our chakras work. Now, some people may think that chakras don't exist, but they have actually done research at NYU. Dr. Robert Powell recognized that there was these major energy centers that were emanating bioenergy. So because of these meridian systems or the endocrine system that's created a hormonal secretion, right? So not just through energy and emotions, but the actual hormones and proteins that were being distributed within our bodies created what we were experiencing within ourselves. Now, our minds may think that, I'm experiencing this and I'm controlling it, but on that level where you're talking about, you don't have to really pay attention to how you're breathing or your heart or digestion. You're looking at things that are just working unconsciously. So, of course, when we're looking at these moments where love is very prominent, right? It is very forthcoming. Then we start to understand what it feels like within our bodies, how we do things, how fear feels like in love, how shame feels like in love, how lust feels like in love, how pride feels like in love, how anger feels like in love, okay? So everything is being encapsulated because of this love, okay? Everything else has been us trying to figure out what this emotion is. So we go through that process of reasoning so we can get to love. Okay, so we have reason at this first level, and at the second level, we have love and gratitude and joy. So we're transitioning from thinking to thinking and feeling so we can connect love, right? So we have an experience and taste of what love is, and then we start feeling more love. And then we start becoming more loving, and then we just become love, unconditional love. Because we see how that transition from thinking and feeling, feeling to being allows us to experience more love. Now, the easiest way to do this is through alchemy. Now, I will warn anybody and everybody that ever teaches some form of alchemy or releasing of your emotions is that they should not charge for it ever. Okay? Now, my guru, Sadhguru, says that these are known as siddhis, right? Siddhis are known as accomplishments. Okay, so someone that goes through this whole process of releasing, they get to a point that they achieve something, they accomplish something. It could be self realization, whatever it may be. Okay, now, of course, there's people trying to help you through this process but they're selling the technique. Okay, the technique should be free. Okay, because if you ever want to be in the presence of a master, and this is something that is known as occult, alchemy, magic, then you will be quickly blacklisted in the spiritual realm, right? Because you are now allowing your ego to be holier than thou, if that makes sense. Okay? So, anybody that I've worked with, they most oftentimes are selling these things, and that's okay. Okay? Everybody needs to make a living or something like that. But I will let you know, because you are basically corrupting, right, that part, you will be locked from these higher levels. Okay, so you may be loving and joy and may experience some form of peace, but it will be very clear to you why it never happened to you ever again. Okay, so for that caveat, just remember, if anybody's trying to sell releasing, um, just be wary, because it's always going to be something about getting more money out of you. And most oftentimes when you are releasing, you can get stuck. Okay, just like they get stuck, right? Who are you learning from, listening to? You will get stuck within your own emotions because you're not really seeing that you've done the work. You're revisiting old stuff, and that's why it's making it very difficult for you to leave those mentors or those teachers, because they keep making the pain real to you. Okay? Instead of actually allowing you to see what that is. Okay? Now, what does that mean? What that is. When they're focused on the product, when they're focused on the product, right, they're not really focusing on the person. Okay? So they can say the right things, and you'll see this with some gurus that have actually taken advantage of people because of this. A great example is Osho, right? Wild Wild Country was a documentary on Netflix that kind of showed how he exploited people that wanted to reach enlightenment. And enlightenment is not something that you sell. And I will let you know that most people don't actually reach it within their lives. And there's only a select few people that actually will achieve it. So, it's always important to strive for the highest of your own strife and development, but understand that not everybody is going to be Elon Musk. Not everybody's going to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Not everybody's going to be, successful chef or anything like that, right? There is a bell curve, especially when it comes to enlightenment, because that energy is so powerful that it is undeniable when you meet someone that is enlightened. Okay? It is undeniable when you meet someone that's enlightened. Why? Because they move with such a grace that is almost perplexing to see that someone can carry so much energy within themselves that the body doesn't actually collapse. Okay? From my experience, you have to actually prepare your body to have all that energy come through, because it will self-destruct in some way, right? The amount of electricity that goes through a filter in a light can actually burn it out, if that makes sense. So there is a reason why there are certain enlightened masters, right? Spiritual masters, right? There's many spiritual masters, but those that actually cross the shore, go beyond the energetic level of joy, right? And then peace is now we're hitting a third level. In between is this ecstasy, okay? And what happens with this ecstasy is that it's almost impossible for someone to actually function within the the realm, okay? Because they're experiencing so much bliss, so much joy, okay? That the only thing they can do is witness, okay? So we spoke about the physical, the mental, the subtle, astral. We're looking at the emotional and the energetic. And these are the first three levels, okay? We have this mental and body, mind and body, and then we have the emotional, energetic body, and then we have this witness, right? And then we have non-dual, which combines this witness and all this together, okay? A great example of this is Baba Ramdev, right? So he did an interview with Sadhguru, and you just see this guy, and he's just like twitching because it's just like so much energy that's pouring through your body. Now, just imagine taking a lot of ecstasy. That's basically what you're going through, because the only thing that is occurring with the difference between taking a substance and that is just that your mind is like, okay, this is a substance that has this chemical, so I'm going to create it within this body. So that's why placebos actually work so much often, because we can actually create these emotions of love, joy, ecstasy, and peace within ourselves. Does that make sense? Okay. So when we are releasing, right, we're always trying to see if the feeling can get better and better and better and better. Okay? And as I spoke before, this is alchemy. Okay? It's turning base metal into gold, right? Now this is going to be a long process for most people, because if you haven't gotten to this point of just being loving and understanding that everything is energy, then you are still struggling with a lot of the mental part. You're still trying to think through things, and you're not really connecting the thinking with feeling. This happens most oftentimes with men. With women, it's a lot of the pain body, right? So men are usually the mind, and for women, it's mostly the emotional body, okay? Because of centuries and centuries of imprinted DNA of ancestral suffering that women have to go through. So that's why when we find the lunar cycle during menstruation, the pain body is more prominent. And that's why when we see individuals that follow the lunar cycle, they call them lunatics, because of the collective unconscious that is occurring, right? The catalyzation of the collective unconscious can drive someone crazy, right? Because the moon is actually agitating these energy centers within ourselves, because we are predominantly water, okay? So now we're starting to see how everything is affecting us, not just on a physical, mental, and energetic level, right? We're starting to see how it affects us in all aspects. Now, when we see this moment of peace, it becomes very, very, very clear. As pure crystal clear as anything could get, and it's almost as if you got the universal joke of what this life is. The only thing that you can ever connect that to or relate that to is a lucid dream. Okay? So once you start to understand that you are love, then basically everything that you experience in terms of joy and gratitude is because you're experiencing more of yourself. And anything that's misery is rooted within the ego.